This video is going to try to help explain both the basics and some of the more advanced steps for creating a shipment to a market. So you'll start really anywhere in Oracle. Depending on where you're trying to ship to, you'll need to select a specific purchasing requester. You'll see in this list that I have several that I could access, and just for this example, we'll do one to Taiwan. So we go into this Taiwan purchasing requester, and you'll need to select requisitions. If you don't already have it in your top 10 list, then you'd come over here to requisitions, and then it's right here. So we'll just access it from there this time. So you keep the operating unit as whatever it defaults to. You have to switch this type to internal requisition. And then your next step is going here into tools and then preferences, where you'll set up a whole bunch of information that will just kind of default for each line, so you don't have to do it for each individual line. So here you'll first select a date. You typically will just set it out like 1 week for an air shipment, and then about a month for an ocean shipment. Just this need by date, so we'll just put it at about a month, just saying this is a little ocean shipment we're sending. The destination type needs to be inventory. You don't have to adjust any of these blank ones up here. The requester, you'll put in yourself. The organization and the location are both ones that might take a little bit of getting used to know which ones to pick. The SOP has a link to a table that'll show you what you need to put for each of those depending on the country. So we'll just quickly fill those in for Taiwan. The source also needs to be inventory, and then the organization it's coming from is Marinda Inc. So then you apply those settings, and then you can start putting in your items. So I'll just put a few items in just for this example. So we'll add a little bit of TNJ. Let's see, we'll put in some enzyme. Oh, and just a helpful tip, if you're filling in this item number, and this actually works in a lot of forms in Oracle, if you want to just skip to the next like box that has to be filled out, you can just press the down arrow and it'll skip straight to quantity, so you don't have to tab over a few times, and it's just a lot easier. So then I just press down again a couple tabs because it gets messed up at the start of a new line, and then put in this last item number, and then you save either by pressing Control S or just hitting this little save icon up here. Then you approve. Okay. Then you leave this screen. Then you need to go to Request Submit, which if you don't already have that in your top 10 list, that's in Reports and Run. Then you'll do Create Internal Orders is the name of this request. You don't have to fill out any special parameters, just do Submit. Okay, no other requests. Then from here, so this is the only part, I guess, of an internal order that's actually specific to the org. From here on out, the stuff you'll be doing is the same no matter which country you're in. So if you're trying to be a little more efficient with doing orders, if you have a big list you're trying to put in, you can do each of these market steps in their own purchasing request to create their internal orders. And then for these next steps we're going to do, you could then import all those orders at the same time and not have to do this next part one by one for each order. But you don't always, I mean, I don't do it that often because usually I don't do a whole bunch of orders all at once just because of when items become available for shipment. So next, you'll come into TNI order management. So you can find it right here. And I might have to check a little bit to find where these go, but you'll first go to order import request, which I think is up here. Is it? No, it is not that one. Ah, here it is. So you'll go into orders comma returns, and then go down and then find import orders, and then under that you'll find order import request. So it'll just default to order import. You click OK, submit, and then you can press, I usually press Alt VR to go into view and requests, find, just because the next step you have to wait until this finishes or else you can't continue. There's this auto refresh if you don't want to click refresh, but you'll wait and it'll usually take anywhere from like 20 seconds to a minute, just depending on how many other requests Oracle is running at the time. Okay, so it finished. We'll go out of here. Then we need to go into this order organizer. So if you're trying to find that over in this list, it's under orders and returns also. It's just this first one, order organizer. So you come, and if you have the order number, this would be if you're coming back into an order, you can place it there. But since we haven't found out what the order number is yet, you just want to look at orders that were made today and then say, yeah, I don't care if it takes a long time, which usually it's not super long. Just occasionally, if there's a lot of requests, it might take a minute. Tick tock, tick tock. Of course it's taking, oh, there we go. Okay, so we have our order number here. You'll usually just want to copy that because we need it for our next steps. If you wanted to check and make sure everything was right on the order, you can open it right here. You don't typically need to review this information. You could, but the important part is looking at this line items, just making sure, okay, I've got the right items, the right quantities. And something that can happen, it's pretty often, is this unit selling price will not automatically populate because it hasn't been set up by the pricing team yet, which currently is Shane, Golding, Will Wu, and Volha. I mean, I'm sure it'll change at points in the future, but that's the team now. And if this unit price isn't selling up, the order also won't be booked down here. And so you'll need to send an email to them saying, hey, can you set up the transfer price for this part number to this country? And then they'll be able to set it up. It usually, depending on how busy they are, it might take them a few minutes, it might take a couple hours, but they can do it the same day. And then if it gets to that point, you'll come down to actions and you can do either price line or price order, either one, and then you would just do OK. And if you're trying to do price line, you need to have selected that specific line. If you price the order, it doesn't matter what line you're on, it'll just update the pricing for all the orders. And one issue that I run into occasionally that you'll want to look out for is sometimes the pricing team will set up transfer pricing and you won't be able to import it. It'll say transfer pricing not found, but they will have already confirmed, hey, I set it up. And that happens if you created the order one day and then they don't end up setting the transfer pricing up till the next day. Like say you make an order at the very end, like I made an order, say at 4 o'clock yesterday, and they didn't have time to get it done before they left, and so they did it this morning. This pricing date would still show the 3rd of April, and they didn't set the transfer pricing to be active until the day they're actually setting it up, so they would have put it in Oracle as 4th of April is when it's active. So it'll look and say, hey, there's no transfer pricing for this item that's active on April 3rd. But you can come here and you can just manually change this date, and you can just bump it up to be the current date, so then it'll pull in that transfer pricing. But then after the transfer pricing, you do have to select book order, and it'll book it for you. On this order, I intentionally put too much T and J so that we can go through a couple of the line manipulations that can be done. So that there's only actually 200 in Oracle right now in inventory. So you can just come to this quantity, you can change it to 200, and you can save. It'll ask you like why you changing it. you don't really have to fill out comments. You can just put in that it was an administrative reason, and then it'll update to only be 200 units instead of the 300. And then I also put an item on here that's not in inventory, so we can go through canceling a line item. So this one I was like, oh, whoops, I accidentally put this on. It wasn't supposed to be there. So then you just do actions cancel. Sorry. And then the same reason again, just an administrative reason. And then okay, and then that line will be canceled. It'll say 0, and that's fine. It will no longer include that on the order. So after we've done all that, I'll make sure once again, because I can't remember if I copied anything, that we've got that order number. You'll go out, you'll go into the order organizer. Oh, sorry, wasn't thinking clearly. You do not go into the order organizer. This time we're going into release sales orders. So, oh geez, let me make sure I can find this one. Is it right here? No, that is not it. Nope. Nope. Sorry, didn't think it'd be so hard to find release sales orders. That's my fault. Here it is, release. So it'll be in shipping and then release sales orders. So, but then you can add it to your top 10 list, so you don't have to do that every time. So it'll always default to unreleased here. And you'll put in that order number, and then you just delete these 2 dates out from right here. And if you ever wanted to make sure you had the right order, it'll kind of populate some of the info. Hey, this is a shipment to Taiwan. And okay, sweet, that's what I wanted. Click concurrent. Okay. If you were I guess I'll come back to that in just a second. So then we got to do the Alt VR, and you press them separately just to access the requests again. Or of course you can go up to the bar up here and do it as well. This one's pretty quick, so it did the pick selection list generation, and it already created the report. So from here you'd view the output, and it'll send it into your Internet Explorer. Or yeah, because that's how we have to open up Oracle through Internet Explorer. So yeah, it'll send it there. Then you come here, and here's a pick slip that it creates for the warehouse staff to be able to pull this order off the shelves to ship it to the market. So it'll show the items, lots, locations, quantities, so that they can go and transact all of that inventory. And it'll show that it's picking from the specific warehouse that you had chosen. So from here, as long as everything looks good on the order, it will highlight the expiration dates if they're coming up. It's like if it's a few months away, I can't remember exactly how many, it'll be red, and then if it's a little further out, it'll be yellow. I think red's maybe within 6 months, and then within like a year, not a year, but maybe like 10 months or something, it's yellow. Can't quote me on that. It's something like that. And then so that's kind of a good thing to look at when you're going here, is just to make sure, hey, am I getting the right expiration dates that I want? And I'll show you in just a sec if you do have the wrong expiration date that it's picking, or if you needed a certain location and to pick the wrong location. I'll show you in just a minute how you can change that. So we're just going to assume for right now, okay, this order is what we wanted it to be. Then you need to come up here and copy the delivery number, because we save these pick slips and we keep them all archived in a specific place. Then you'll just go into the H drive. It's in Forecasting and Inventory Control, DRP. Sorry, getting thirsty. And then here it'll have a list of the countries. So for this one, we're sending an order to Taiwan. So we'll select that, and then it'll be pretty easy to see like the template you're supposed to use, just kind of the formatting for the certain shipments. Like usually just do like the org, whether it's air or ocean. This FTF you'll see sometimes is a foreign to foreign, like it was shipped. For this, it specifies it was from JDC to Taiwan. So you can usually just like click on a past one. Like if I was sending an ocean shipment, I would just click on a past ocean and then just go in and replace the delivery number with the new one. And then you just click save, which I won't save it for now since we don't actually need this order. And then from there, I'll provide a link or a file download of some sort to get to this info, but there's templates that we have for whether the shipment's going ocean, air, or ground when you email that pick slip to distribution. So for this, we'll be saying it was an ocean shipment. So you put the delivery number up here in the subject, and then typically when you attach the file, you just come here and it'll be like in your most recents, and you'd put it in. Since I didn't save it, it's not actually showing up. But then they've always got some extra information you can provide. Usually don't select expedited, don't usually need a quote. This is the box that you will use occasionally. And it's just if you're adding anything to the shipment, because they'd like to know whether or not they can book the order right away and like not worry about anything missing it or something. So you just let them know, hey, I've got something I still need to add, I'm waiting for it. And then usually in the special instructions down here, I'll put the date that I'm expecting that item to be ready so that they can get an idea of when they can book the container. So yeah, then you'd send that to them. Obviously I won't send it this time. Okay, so that's the basics of how you'll run through creating a shipment to a market. But then there's a few things you'll run into I also wanted to go over. I had started a little bit on this before, but sometimes you'll try to release an order and it will back order in Oracle because you put a quantity that was greater than what's available. So if that happens, you have a couple options. So one, if you accidentally put too much or you don't have time to worry about adding that extra inventory into Oracle so that you can send it, then you'd do what I showed you before where you can adjust the line quantity and then just save that. And then from there, you'll be good. If you had, sorry, not sure where I was going with that. Oh, just that the other option too is if maybe like the item was on quarantine or something because it had just been released either from, or I mean, it had just been received on a PO or it had just been finished by the pack line or something. Then in that case, it would back order. So what you would do then is you would go talk to whoever it is in quality that you need help with to release that item. And then when it's released, you'd come back to this TNI order management. You would need that order number again. You'd come into release sales orders. And then instead of unreleased, you'd come down to back ordered. And then you would need to put in the order number, which I obviously don't have the correct one now. That's a delivery number. But then you'd do the same thing, taking out these dates, concurrent again. And it'll print out a pick slip for you. And there is still another step after that, though. And this is actually a step that goes with a couple things. So you'll use, this is assigning a delivery number to an item. Oh, shoot, just a second. Sorry about that. Oh yeah, so this is assigning a delivery number to an order that you created. So you use this one when something is back ordered and you've went in and did this release to then have another pick slip for the quantities and items that had back ordered. Or if you create a new order, but it's also going on the same shipment. So if you, because there will be times where like I've made multiple orders for one shipment because I got a late request or some of the items weren't ready at first, and instead of back ordering them, I just waited and did a second order. So if you're making multiple of these orders for one single shipment, then the distribution team is asked that they be on the same delivery number. And so this is how you can change the delivery number. So you'll typically just adjust it to whatever the first order was. So in this case, you do need an order number, so I'm going to have to go back and grab that really quick. Come on. Sorry, this is going a lot longer than I expected, so hopefully this video still ends up being useful. I'll try to measure out specific time slots or even crop short videos so people can get specific excerpts so you don't have to watch the entire thing every time, because I know this is going pretty long. But this is the most important function in Oracle for anyone that's shipping to know, because this is something you do basically every day. So I'm re-grabbing this order number, going back out. So now we'll be going to this shipping transactions form. This is, I think, is it this one right here, shipping and transactions? Yes. So yeah, it's under shipping and transactions on the left. You'll put your order number from and then tab it over so it's also the to order number. You find, okay. So it'll show the lines of items. So here's our TNJ and here's that enzyme blend, I think, or whatever that we had included in there. So if these had been a new order I created that I wanted to add to this delivery number, we'll just pretend for a second that these are different items on a different delivery number. So I would be selecting these here. We'll select these lines, and then you'd go down here to actions, and then you unassign from delivery, and you'll see that disappears. And then you would take the delivery number of that first order you made that you're adding these items to, and then you'd come here to assign delivery, go, and you'd put that order number in right here. I don't have one right now because I didn't actually make two orders just to save time. But you put that delivery number in, and then you just do OK, or you do find, and then you press like enter, and it'll show you that delivery. You click OK, and then you'll see right here that the delivery number will then repopulate in here. So then you just scroll over, because you'll need this move order number for the next step. You'll copy that, then you can leave this screen. You'll come to shipping reports and documents. Oh, I guess I need to show where that is over here. It's down, it's in shipping, and then reports and documents right there. So you'll do pick slip report. Then don't put it in the pick slip number. You come down to move order number, because if you put the number in there, it'll think for a long time and might crash Oracle. So you put it in here, move order, then you do OK, submit. And then if we do the alt VR, again, to just go and look at requests, this one works really quick. So it already made our new pick slip report. You'd view the output. And it's messed up because I didn't actually put a delivery number, but it'll look just like the one from before, except you'll be able to look and say, okay, here was the old delivery number I didn't want because I need to add it to the first one, and just make sure, okay, it's the same delivery number, and then you'll go through the same process of saving it. And then we usually just put in parentheses like it's 2 of 2 or 2 of 3 for the number of orders that are going on that shipment. So I think the last main thing we need to go over is changing these locations and lots if you didn't pick the right thing. So for example, you can see here on this enzyme blend, there's 2 different lots that it's picking, and maybe you had spoken to the market, or maybe one lot was expiring soon and there's a good lot that is the one we're supposed to be sending to them. So if that were the case, or any other case where you need to change this lot or location, we'll need the move order number that's on this pick slip. Then you'll come back here into Oracle, and this time you're going into the hat that's buyer planner inventory. And then in here you'll need to go into transact move orders, which Oh man, I not looked. Oh, that's a pretty easy one. So it's just under move orders, transact move orders. You'll pick the org TNI. You'll put in the move order. Sorry. Okay. And then you'll need to go into these lines one at a time if you need to change multiple. For this case, we're just going to be switching the lot for this enzyme blend. So you have to make sure that you're clicked on that line, you update allocations, and then you do select available inventory. And then you can see here all the different locations and lots that are available. And so here we're going to say, pretend like, hey, this slot that it's picking 144 of was a really old one, so we don't want that. Let's come here and switch it so it's all picking from this slot. No saving like normal. This form's a little weird. So you'll just click done, and then you click this save. Regular save doesn't work, but that save does, whatever reason. So then, yeah, that would be it for that. So that's fixed now to be the one lot we needed. Then you'll go back to TNI order management after that, and then you go back to the shipping reports and documents, and you just do that pick slip report again with that move order, and then you'll just like before, you go into requests, you find, then you view output, it'll pop it up in Internet Explorer, and here we can check and see, okay, look, now that enzyme is only pulling that one lot that we specified. So that's how you change that. And then you would take all the orders, and if you did have multiple orders when you were sending the email to the distribution team, you'll include all those pick slips on there. I'll just give you a brief look also at the other templates just so you can know how those ones are used as well. So if we were doing an air shipment, it's the same with delivery number, it's the same with attaching your pick slips, and then you choose a priority here. So typically try to avoid priority 1 unless it's a super important shipment that it has to get there ASAP. Like in any other instance, at least go to priority 2 because it's a lot cheaper, and in 95% of cases, it really doesn't have to be there the extra couple days earlier. Like it should be able to wait as long as it's not something really, really crucial. Then as far as reason, when you select supply, that means that it was an issue from our end. Either the PO was late, we didn't plan properly, we forgot to put it on a shipment earlier, any sort of thing like that. You'd say it was a supply issue that caused it. Demand would be like anything related to the market selling or needing more than they had communicated to us. So maybe they have an upcoming promotion and they're like, hey, we know our ocean ship is not a couple months, but we need more of this because we're planning this promotion. Then that would be a demand issue. Maybe their sales spiked even if they didn't expect it to. That's still a demand issue. Anything like that. The other two are pretty self-explanatory. If it's a new product launch, then the reason is a new product launch, because we pretty much send all the new product launches by air. And then raw materials, just if it's a raw material. This field code section is only used if we are paying for part or all of the air shipment to that market. And we'll just do that out of goodwill sometimes if it'll be only if it was a supply issue. Be like, hey, like we messed up, we're sorry to cause this air shipment. And there's a lot of markets that the margins are pretty tight, and so if they're paying for these air shipments, they're like, well, why bother, because we're going to lose money on this anyway. And so this is a way for us to help them still be able to make money while covering some of the cost, because it was someone, at least from the corporate side's fault, that this product had to be air shipped. So you can select multiple groups if the blame is spread, and you just indicate to the distribution team, usually in special instructions, how you'd like that split up, like 20% paid by like distribution, 10% paid by regulatory, and then 60 by the market or whatever. And I know that doesn't add up to 100, but anyway. You just have a split like that, and then for bigger air shipments, that are like several pallets if we have to send juice for whatever reason. Just one thing that to keep in mind that the markets don't always understand is that we will still charge them for whatever the ocean cost would be to send that product. And then if we're paying for the rest, we'll just be covering the extra cost. So like say we were sending 10 pallets of juice for something, then we'd still charge them like the $2,000 that their container would have cost, and then any other costs, if we said we were going to cover them, then we'd pay for that. So sometimes they'll get confused, be like, hey, I thought you guys were paying for it, but we still got charged this, and it'd be like, yes, because you're still paying the ocean portion. We said, like, that's our standard because you would have to pay for this still if it went by ocean. So you're going to pay for that no matter what, and then we'll pay the additional cost because it had to go air. Basically telling them, hey, you can't just get like free shipping by air for this really expensive stuff. So yeah, that's it for that template. And then this ground one is just used for a few countries. It's Canada, Mexico, and then shipments here in the US. So same sort of thing. You put the delivery number, you attach the file. You can choose expedited or normal for priority. I don't know that I've ever used expedited because trucks get to their locations pretty quick since we don't ship them far. Usually within like a week or two, so it's not a huge deal. So you usually shouldn't have to do expedited. And then I've never needed a quote, usually just put no. Then any special instructions. But yeah, pretty straightforward on that. And I think that's about it. Just to recap what we've kind of covered, we went through going to market-specific purchasing requesters, creating their internal requisitions, and then going into their internal order, or going into the order management to be able to create those internal orders so that they can be released. A pick slip can be generated and then sent to the distribution team so that they can ship it. And then we went over a bunch of the ways that you can like release back-ordered items, create new orders, assign them to the same delivery, kind of change the quantities of the items that are on the order if you messed up originally, and then being able to pick specific lots and locations so that you are making sure you're getting the right inventory. So that'll be it for this video. Hopefully you find this helpful, and then like I said before, there'll be a couple reference links in the SOP for information you might need while trying to go through this, and then I'll try to either clip parts of the video or put the time to start and end so that you can just go reference certain lessons if that's what you are looking for. So yeah, thanks.